So, if you were here for yesterday's live stream, I have pre-ordered the Frederica statue.
戻りになられるのをお待ちしておりました。フレデリカ？
Thank you for getting me to 400 subs. Let's talk a little bit about Rezero today. Now, today's episode wasn't well, I take it back. It was eventful, but not eventful in the way that I thought it was going to be. So it's a little bit lower on my list, but it's not bad. I got double waifu today. I got mostly Frederica and Amelia out of this episode, which is great. And I also got a bit of Subaru's rant to Beatrice, which was also pretty good. So in the beginning, we get a little bit of the fight with Garfield and Elsa, which is actually pretty good. I wanted it. I almost wanted the entire episode just to be that fight. But one of like really cool tidbits you get in the fight is Elsa and Garfield are obviously attacking each other. Garfield's pretty quick, like he's able to react to her. She throws her sword at him, he catches it in his teeth, and he's still talking with it like in his mouth. And then, you know, she's still trying to attack him anyways. Then as she tries to dodge and goes back, he grabs her by her hair and then slams her into a wall and then just drags her head. Now, the one part I was worried is then he gets a cut on his ear. And again, these two attacks aren't really comparable. One is like, I'm dominating the crap out of you. The other one's like, oh, ouch, my ear. Oh, no. But you never know. Elsa's a real tricky fighter. Like, that's a big issue with her there. She's quick. She's very precise. She's fast. As we know, she has like a bajillion gimmicks now. By bajillion, I mean like two. One is she'll most likely just dodge out of the way, but it's going to feel like it's a gimmick. And then the second one is when we saw with Beatrice, the last time she was killed and didn't die. So that's like a whole other issue. After that, we get a little bit more of Frederica, which is great. As you guys can already tell by me buying the Frederica statue. Outside of Amelia, there's the two top waifus in Rezero for me right now. And it was just nice seeing her like be around Petra. Oh no, what was really funny about my bed, she saw Petra came running over to her because she was crying to go hug her, and then she just dropped Otto. She saved them at the moment that Subaru got away and he got stuck with the mobbies. Otto and Petra. I think I'm confusing the Beatrice situation. I don't remember it happened. I believe it happened before this, so I should have mentioned that one first. I'm a little too excited for my wife who's first. Anyways, so the one part I missed before we get to Frederica and I think the Petra part, Subaru is talking to Beatrice. Beatrice starts to go kind of on her depression spiel. That's kind of what it feels like at this point now, since Subaru already knows what happens. These last couple of episodes have really given us an idea of how the events from earlier in season 2 have taken place. So we saw what would happen if it was just Petra and Frederica in the house. We get the whole thing with Petra being like, oh my gosh, I have to protect her. I have to go protect Rem. And she'll try to run back. Maybe Frederica tells her to go anyways. Like, I'm going to carry this. But she obviously doesn't have it. As much as she can sort of fight Elsa, the moment that Melee steps in, or if she, like, any caught by surprise, is done. Like, that fight is over. Elsa's too much already, and then let alone add in with Melee, and let alone she's trying to protect Petra at the same time. That's done. With Ram and Roswell, we saw in the last episode, the moment Roswell knows it's around time, he'll just go to the crystal, go, oh, rabbits, show up, and then the rabbits will start mauling on everybody, and that's not going to be good. Garfield would have kept people back, but that's a little bit like super far back. But you know, we're really seeing like all this stuff unravel, and you can really see all the frameworks, and I think that's really good writing. So you can be able to tell how this would go down. That's a lot of forethought afterwards. Like you would think it'd be like kind of seeing like, oh, well, you know, they'd have to write that anyways, but you really have to kind of think it out when you're doing it. It's not just like, oh, and then they just came in the middle point. What would be happening is the question. So Beatrice comes up with this situation because Subaru is like, no, what's her face who's in the mansion, Elsa's gonna freaking kill you if you stay in here. She's aware of your ability. And then she's like, oh my gosh, okay, so I guess Roswell knows it's my time to die. Well, I guess I'm just gonna die is basically like the summary she gets to at a certain point, because it's the only gospel she has any connection to. In fact, she was happy for the fact that at least Roswell's book mentioned her, because it means her mother didn't forget about her. And I love Subaru's take. Again, my one favorite thing with Subaru as a character is he's not afraid to say when things sound very stupid. It's very abrupt, it's very abrasive, and it might not fit the tone of the world, just like the court scene. But it's like the one part that never bothered me about it is I don't mind Subaru speaking his mind. In fact, there's a little part later with Amelia that almost reaffirmed it for me. So he's like, that's stupid. You're really gonna let somebody else's book? You're gonna let Roswell's book tell you what? Like, that's just so dumb. And she kind of going to spiel like, well, this is like the only one I have left. With this book, is mom's. She's basically like, mother's never been wrong. Mother would never make any stupid decisions. Subaru is like, oh yes, she would. Like you have no idea if that's even the book she wanted to give you. She might have done it on accident for all you know. And she obviously, surprisingly, she wasn't actually that aggressive in this episode. She was just kind of taking the brunts. We get all the way up to the part where she's talking about, could you be that person? And then Subaru utters the words, why in the world would I ever be that person for you? I think he was about to go on a spiel like he does with Amelia and Rem. Got blown out. No, it's not working. She's doing so far out of the room. And that's a terrible time. Like, this is not the time for this. Oh my gosh, dude. It's so bad. I'm trying to remember if there's any other part outside of that I forgot. Outside of, like, I just like Subaru mentioning the fact that, yeah, your mom could be wrong. Like, you've been, there we go. He starts chastising her like a parent. He's like, you have spent 400 years in here, and you have already tried breaking your little promise, miss. Oh, it's about the promise? I had to stay here. You have literally been trying to get yourself killed. Or trying to figure out a backdoor way to get yourself killed. So the reason why you're sitting here now is because you're hoping she'll kill you, and then you'll be out of the promise. So if you're gonna break the promise, we might as well do it in a better way. That's the one part that's different now than the past arcs of Subaru is. He now at least has solutions what he's answering. It's not just like when he goes to the court and goes, "Stop it all, you guys! Stop being elf racist." And then he doesn't really offer anything else. He doesn't really give them a reason why. He just goes, wow, she's really great. The only thing you get out of that is the sarcastic, well, I guess we have no reason to fear you, Amelia. It's the only thing you get out of that. But this is really good. This is very good character development for Subaru. It's very nice to see him so above everybody else's mental game, especially characters like Beatrice, who felt so mystical in season 1, and now he's gotten to a level where it's like, yeah, no, you're still not going to get me with all that. Oh, this is my promise. I like to reword my depression and then make it very, I don't know what the word is, intelligent. That way you can't try to disrupt my depression. That's where we're getting with that. So I already said the Frederica saying she saves Otto, Petra, and I think, did they have Rem? No, Frederica had Rem. So she saves the 3 of them from the mob beast. We see it again, the Grim, the big kind of griffin-ish, I forgot what the word is. No, the Chimera-like monster. There we go. That's not the name of it, but it's a better lead-in. So, luckily, Frederica went and grabbed Rem, got them out of there. Now they're out of the mansion, so most people, it's safe in general. We had that scene again with Frederica dropping Otto for Petra. Again, their interactions are always adorable. That's like that put Frederica so much higher on my waifu list. Just how nice her and Petra's little bond is, and how she acts as a character with other characters. Like, she didn't even mean to drop Otto. It was just a reaction for her. It's great. Subaru. First comes children, women, men, old people, or it was old people, men, and then Otto. They're so mean to that dude. After that, Frederica's like, we still have a problem here, and then it's Meili with her giant hippopotamus. I think that's what it looks like. She called it a rock piggy, but it wasn't hippopotamus. Anyways, one of the best moments of that scene for Petra was her being like, hey, Meili, we're friends. Can't you just let me go? And then she's like, no, you have to stay with me and play the entire time. She's like, freak, Subaru, that didn't work. I mean, A for effort, right? You never know. It's dumb, but you never know. And then Frederica's kind of like, oh, I got this one. This one's not that bad. Subaru, you can go because Subaru said he's going to Roswald's room because there's an exit there. And I'm guessing it's either some sort of, because in my brain would go, what kind of exit? Is he going to is there like a teleporter there? I don't know what he's specifically thinking about. My brain thought, oh, he thinks more likely than not that door is going to be the door where Beatrice is at, because it'd be more thematic if she's at like the very most important door. Ooh. Anyways, so Frederica is now readying herself. She brings her claws. She's like, this is, she's getting serious, right? She's getting serious, which is good to let me know that power scaling wise, we're getting like more power scaling with Rezero. She could have handled Meili. In her own mind, she could have handled Meili. We'll see whether or not she feels like she's overwhelmed later, but it puts into question for me. So Garfield's probably a bit stronger than her, it seems. Garfield's having less trouble with Elsa, at least it looks like. It could be also Frederica was worried about, I have to keep 2 other people safe who cannot defend themselves. That's a whole nother thing. But either way, they're all around that same kind of tier level, which also puts Garfield pretty high up himself. Like, that's crazy. Reinhardt's obviously like ridiculous. Puck's obviously like ridiculous, but Garfield's just skipped all the way up to like Elsa's having a hard time to some degree. He was dragging her head around with him as a fighter. So that's pretty cool. Power scaling in ReZero. After that, we skipped to the rest of the episode, and I'm not happy because it was mostly the trial, but I'm happy we got the trial over with. We went to the unseen present, or unthinkable present, for the first time. We had Roswell give his line that I think he gave in the last episode when Amelia was walking in. So we kind of got like a transition in time, like we went back from Amelia's side of it. Amelia goes inside the trial, and it's like perfect world. It's basically what it is. She's going into her perfect world. Mother Fortuna's still alive. Amelia's still her age, like she's her current age now. With Mother Fortuna. Mother Fortuna is dressing way more like an aunt, by the way, like 100% way more like an aunt. Juice comes over to visit. He's like knocking on the door, and she's like, Amelia's like, oh my gosh, it's a guest. Amelia's having that moment like Subaru did, and Amelia's present was more like Subaru's past. Subaru's past was very like calm, you're with your family, it's cool, and then Amelia's is like, it was the exact same way, but it was for her present, which was a very nice touch. I like the fact that it wasn't exactly the same, because that's like, they're doing a little bit of the mirroring with it. But I do like the fact that it was like, it's a nice touch that you're bringing these two characters together and like their mindsets. Really, right now what's happening is Subaru is taking care of the mansion, Amelia is taking care of Sanctuary. That's a very good dynamic that they have going on there. Juice comes over. Juice is like, Fortuna, your outfit is making me, what was the word? He didn't say aroused, but he might as well have said that, and it was hilarious. And then it didn't even look like she punched him on the arm. I know she punched him on the arm, but it looked like she did like that bro slap on the arm, like, good one, bro. And that made me crack up way more than it should have. And she couldn't handle the compliment. They were all going on a picnic, and she's watching and marching away with her like aunt hat. Again, that hat Amelia made, and her age went like, yeah, she's somebody's aunt the moment I saw that hat. They start walking around. Some of the elf women are like, oh my gosh, you guys are such a nice couple. And then you guys look like such a nice family. And then Juice is like, yeah, they are really a nice family, aren't they? And then Amelia just kind of looks at him, and then Fortuna just want to really answer, just kind of looks back and goes like, yes, thank you. They go over to the picnic, and Juice, I think he brought it back up, and then Amelia was like, no, she was talking about all of us. He's like, what? Because he was talking about the fact that if I was living with you guys, there'd be rumors, and we can't have that for Fortuna. I don't want to distract her like that. And Amelia is like, there's already rumors. Did you not just hear the lady a second ago? I mean, she might as well went like, dang, Juice, get it. I saw like, I'm not making this ratchet. Leave me alone. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways, so Amelia is enjoying her time. Obviously, Fortuna's like, you have, well, Amelia, where are you getting these weird phrases? Like Amelia says something about being like, I'll leave it to you young people, because Amelia's weird, but that's one of her like good qualities, is how quirky she is. Like actual quirky, not like, oh my gosh, I'm so quirky. She gets up, she's about to cry because I think it's hitting her like, oh my gosh, this is like the past. I think the moment she looked in the mirror, she realized this is like the trial. I think she just wanted to enjoy it for a second, which is kind of the bait in the trap there, you know? You have to be very careful, because I feel like if you were in there and you were starting to do that, you were most likely, I think, kind of slide into it. Because it's like Subaru, I don't know if you can like lose your memories while you're back in there, or just choose not to go out, and maybe that's like, oh, trial ends. But a lot of these things seem a little tricky, you know what I'm saying? So Amelia leaves. She goes all the way up to this cliff. She gives her goodbyes, kind of like Subaru did with his parents, except both of them were there at the same time. It wasn't like individually his father, individually his mother. For her, it was both. They're like, we care about you. She was like, I'm always in love with you guys. And she left. She goes up onto the top of the cliff. Then it's Archie. And now Archie's given me a theory, and I don't know how accurate I am on it. I am an anime only. This theory is not from any novels or nothing, so no stress. It's just my theory. I just realized that Puck has green eyes, and so does Archie. And Puck's words, so this might be spoilers if you haven't seen Frozen Bond. If you haven't seen Frozen Bond, now leave and then come back later. Frozen Bonds, Puck sees Amelia when she's in the crystal, and the first thing he says is, oh, I'm so sorry, I left you behind, Leah, I'm so sorry. So it's almost making me wonder, is Archie Puck? Again, it's the same eye color and everything else, and kind of the same position they had. The issue is they don't talk similarly, so that's the only part that's throwing me off, or at least I'm not aware of it since it's in Japanese, if they are talking similarly, but I don't think Tappei would do that. I don't think they're that similarly written. That'd kind of give that away if it was, but that's where I'm going with that right now. It's a dumb theory. We'll see if that ever goes anywhere, but just keep that in mind that I said it. If I'm right, then yes, it wasn't a dumb theory. I'm a genius. Anyways, Amelia tells Archie that, one, she calls him big bro. Second of all, she's like, I'm thankful for all the people that are around my life. She gives like this speech about each and every person's like really good characteristics, at least the main cast. So like Ram, I think, her mother, her aunt, Juice, Subaru, Garfield. I was surprised she threw Garfield in there. Otto. So it was kind of like, you know, a little nice tie-in for everybody else. There's a little bit of, got a little clip showy, but it was cool. After that, she gives, you know, Archie her thanks too. He's like, you smiled even though that you knew you were going to go. And I thought that was so touching. Some of these stuff's like kind of hit, like the wording. I was like, I wanted to fight today, but dang, that was, ouch, man. You know, it hurt my feelings. I'm sitting here sad. So, Archie, you know, he smiles and then the trial's over. And she thanks Echidna. And then what happens after this was very surprising. Here's the part I'm like real tripped out about. This saved like the later half of the episode, outside of the Amelia like touching moments. She says thank you to Echidna, and Echidna just says, "You, I find you despicable, and I absolutely hate you." Something like that kind of wording. But she's crying, which is the weirdest part. They've been giving Echidna this sort of like tone throughout her and Amelia kind of having to deal with each other, and it could just be the fact that she's losing. You know, this is kind of like Subaru. Subaru right now is having to fight like a darker version of himself, and you could almost maybe say the same thing about Amelia. They don't really have as much of a connection, but it feels like, you know, these are like the alpha Chad version of Subaru, but the terrible version of him is Roswell, and he's having to deal with him, right? And then on the other end of that, you get this like super manipulative woman who can basically almost have any other guy she wants. In fact, the simp she has is still trying to get with her after 4,000 years, you know, or 400 years, my bad, or whatever. And then now we're here, you know, it's like this nice parallel, and I really enjoy that. So I'm just curious on why she's crying. Is it just because she's losing? Is there another part? Is there a part of Echidna that's waking up after being dead for so long? I think it's like almost implied the fact that she's like a different person. It's the reason we don't really see her eyes or in the flashback, I think, because it's not really like, you know, she's not really like the same person anymore. This is years of being absorbed already by the greed she probably already had a little bit, but however much it magnifies while being in a domain where you're dead for however long, right? That's a lot. So I'm just curious where they're gonna go with this towards the end of season 4, and her character, like, what kind of change is her character gonna go good? I know Roswell might be forced to be good, but we'll still always kind of see him like, hey, that was the guy who he got everybody killed like 4 times. Screw that dude. It's gonna always be a thing. Subaru kind of implied that, but what about Echidna? What about the witches? Are they gonna add that? That's not gonna help Amelia's. That's not gonna help her perspective at all. Hopefully she's confident about it. When we get Amelia about to dive into the water towards the end of the episode, because she's on this cliff and now she's looking down. She's about to make the same kind of jump Subaru did with the ram kind of situation. Except, you know, it's not as brutal. They don't hear the clack at the very end of it, right? As she's looking down, she's looking at her memories of the times people were like judgmental to her or filthy, like the court man said filthy woman. And that's the reason why I was with Subaru when he started yelling. The reason why I was okay with Subaru yelling the way he did in the courtroom, and I'm going to keep talking about it because it's always, I feel like it's misinterpreted to some degree, and not completely, but to some degree, is Subaru understood in that moment Amelia was beating herself up. And as she could tell, and as she said right there, people were protecting me throughout all these moments that came back to her. So even in that moment, she knew she felt like a victim. She just couldn't say anything. And I'd rather have Subaru say something and her not be the only one in the room who's not going to, because no one else is going to do anything. Roswell wasn't going to do anything because we see he was doing it on purpose. He kind of possibly enjoyed the situation. He even smirked when it happened. Now, he probably was smirking because he was like, oh, Subaru is that person. But either way, she needed somebody there, and that's why I was more okay with Subaru giving his honest emotions. Didn't help after the night scene. The night scene was bad. Somebody else told me the fact that he thought they said that Julius was kind of the one who technically started the conversation, but either or, I was okay with that. I was completely fine with the fact that Subaru realized that somebody was in danger, in a sense mentally, and was there to try to rescue them. To me, that added to his character. He's cringy, but that added to his character for me. So it was just nice to be reaffirmed. I like that the writers, even when they're just doing flashbacks, it kind of felt like a clip show a little bit today. Even then, they grabbed the good flashbacks that mattered to the plot and then dragged them over for good character development. And that's great. I freaking enjoy that. Outside of that, now we got out. Amelia goes back outside, and then she's talking to the villagers. And the greatest part is now they're all really in support of her. They're proud of her to some degree. I don't even think Subaru. I think they specifically mentioned Subaru didn't tell them anything. They just came to see her, which was nice. And also the demi-humans as well with Ryuzu. One of the demi-humans was talking about how Garfield was like struggling so much and how sad that is. And when you really think about it, again, I think Garfield's the only character I actually did the analysis for. I really did feel for the man on that one, because he is literally, this is just a job to him. This is just what he needed to do, was being a protector. So it was nice to see that in Sanctuary, he wasn't just seen as like the big bully, because that's kind of how he felt in season 2. Was a lot of it was, well, you can't do anything because I said no. But it makes sense. He's 14, so in his mind he's probably like, I'm just keeping everybody safe, I'm controlling the situation. That's what a man would do, right? You know, he's probably in that mindset. But I'm glad they saw it, that he was actually struggling. I wish they would have reached out to him, but then again, he's almost stronger than Elsa, so I don't know if they were willing to make that risk. Oh my gosh, especially because again, if he's not controlling his anger, then tiger form, you know. But this episode was pretty good, like in general. Again, I wanted the fights. That's the only part that left me out. They showed like a clip of Ram, Roswald, and Puck fighting, and I swear if we don't get that fight or the other ones, I'm gonna freaking lose it. I want Frederica versus Melee. I want Garfield versus freaking Elsa. I almost forgot her name because she pisses me off so much. I just want my fights, you know. I just want to see them. Hopefully Subaru can figure out his wording a bit better with his basically almost little sister character. That's what they feel like to me. They always feel like they're like, this is his little sister that he probably, you know, because he doesn't have any other siblings. This is a little sister he's never had, so now he has to be like he has to literally be a grown-up. Not just when he's around Petra now. He has to play the grown-up. And it's hilarious that he's playing grown-up with somebody who is 400 years old. Let's really keep that in mind. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Again, that was one of the funny, some of the comedy in this episode were delivered so well. Some of the animation, I think in some parts I was like, I can see what's going on, but I'm hoping they're saving the budget. That's what I want to believe. The fight was good, so I'm hoping they're saving the budget for some real good fights. I believe in you. Thank you. That's not just because of the ending. All right, so let me know, what was your favorite part about the episode. Were you happy for more Frederica and Amelia time? Again, that Frederica figurine is gonna come soon. It's gonna take a long time though. I didn't realize how long the pre-order would take, but because of you guys, I have pre-ordered it. And then I'll catch you later. Probably like on Discord if you're one of the people from the Rezero Discord. Catch you later. Peace. Don't leave!